This episode of Sky Notes is a special one. I do a birthday reading with Lillian to show what a year ahead session looks like, the techniques, the themes I track, and how astrology is something useful to help navigate the year ahead. So let's do some astrology. Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special Sky Notes. Happy birthday to my partner in crime. We're a little late. We're a little late on this. But we decided we're going to do a bit of a solar return reading for Lillian. And so people can see kind of what goes into a session like this. And we get to talk about Lillian's astrology. So I'm very excited. How are you today?
I'm doing really good. Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could continue on our decluttering adventure. We find to be really good for this upcoming year. And lots of good.
And not just this upcoming year, like I always look back first, right? To see kind of what you're coming out of so that you compare it to what you're going into, right? Especially if somebody, like, I don't know about you, but I find that often people don't book appointments when stuff starts. They generally book stuff once they've like hit a point of I can't do this anymore. I need to know when this is over, or I need something new to start, like those kinds of things. So looking back to see what's influencing that, I think, is important.
I love that.
Yeah. So I always start with perfections first because I want to see which house that you're in. So for anybody who doesn't know, perfections are every year of our life is one of the 12 houses of the chart. And so there are two schools of thought. For some people, they feel like zero birth is at the ascendant, and other schools of thought is the 1-year-old mark is at the ascendant. So the way I do it is every 12 years we hit the ascendant again. Okay.
Nice.
So last year you were in an 11th house year. And so that's a nice social, putting yourself out there, hanging out with people and all that kind of stuff. It was a Mercury year, and Mercury was retrograde on your birthday. So maybe a bit frustrating, a lot of going back to the past. But I laughed when I saw it because I'm like, oh, well, you've been purging all year, which is such a retrograde theme. Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. And so did you find it frustrating? Did you feel like things kind of, there's a delay or there's waiting or, all those retrograde ideas?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And on an egoic level, it, what is it? I've had it up to here or whatever the joke is. But I don't really want to get philosophical, but in terms of what happened after I got into a space where I was frustrated, I got a lot more traction and I got to solutions. So that, and the motto I keep hearing is I'm coming home to myself, and so.
Oh, I love that. Right? Yeah. Well, especially since the sun was in your first house.
Yeah.
In your solar return. So you were literally coming home to yourself last year. That was your job. That was what you're supposed to be doing. So that's really cool. I had to giggle when I saw that if you're in your 11th house Virgo year, then you're working with your Mars in Virgo, which we know you did. You did a lot of that. I wanted
to burn things so often. My goodness. Yeah, Mars and I have become quite close lately.
Yeah. Mars and Virgo can get obsessed with the details. Yeah, would you say that's a fair way to put it?
Yeah, in fact, I would say this weekend when I had any spare time, I was, I'm not going to say rabbit down into the topic of feng shui, because as I purge, I want to know what I'm trying to elicit. And so that's been cool. A multi-chart, trying to kind of throw the decks up in the air and look at the local astrology chart to see what's there.
Oh, cool.
Right. And then let it all go because it's just a space. Right.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, and the thing that I found really beautiful about your particular astrology, like from last year to this year and the flow of that, was that, so you had the moon was at 29 Scorpio in the 12th house and you were in a balsamic phase. So that is all very much like that purging, that ending, that clearing house, all of that,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
also that returning back to yourself. It's like we're going to start
Mhm.
this whole new phase. Which pieces of myself do I want to bring forward into this new story? Yeah.
Mm.
But as you shift into this year, which is the 12th house, it's like you were totally set up to move into this 12th house year with a clean slate.
Yeah.
You know, if you did the work, which you did, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. It
I
feels
love it.
very much like I'm just gonna have more privacy this year, even if I
Oh,
don't, do you know what I mean? Even if I
yeah.
don't limit my activities, there'll be that sense of, I get to go
Yeah.
off to that distant land.
Well, and it's a Venus year, it's Libra for you on that house, right?
Mm.
And so
Yes.
finding a balance, because this is the thing that's interesting is that so last year everything was below, almost everything was below the horizon. So not being
Mhm.
seen,
Mhm.
maybe a little bit more hermiting, a little bit more home, a
Yes.
little bit
Yes.
more, right? Whereas this year, even though you're in that 12th house perfection, there's a lot of stuff up above the horizon. The sun's now in the ninth house, right? The
Mhm.
ruler of your year is in the ninth house. And
Mhm.
so there's much more visibility. So your job is going to be to find the balance between when you want to put yourself out there and when you need to rest, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not even rest, but just time to
Right.
be alone.
Yeah, I'm finding more and more that my work requires privacy. And I wish that that wasn't the case. It's very cultural where I'm at, where people hang out together when they're working. And I do love co-working on Zoom, so I've got that going for me. But yeah, yeah. And I do feel that shift toward Venus, because every time I try to rush, I hear, go ahead and make your notes if you're so fancy. What are you going to do? And the Mars, not the Mars, but the Sagittarius is like, let me do it. But there is no plan.
Right. Well, and this is the wild thing is that Venus, the ruler of your year, is at the same degree that the moon was in your last birthday chart.
Oh,
So
wow.
at that 29 degrees. So what that
Mm.
means when we've got the ruler of the year at 29 degrees, there's going to be a major shift fairly soon after your birthday.
Mhm.
And then also all of the inner work, because that moon in Scorpio in the 12th house at 29 Scorpio is going to be very internal, going within,
Mhm.
right? And so
Yeah.
then to have that all of a sudden it moves up to the ninth. So what did you learn about yourself and how is that going to be incorporated into your beliefs, your ideologies, and the message that you're putting out into the world, right?
Right.
So that movement is really beautiful and really
Oh,
lovely.
wow. Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and something for, I mean, you do this work unconsciously. Like I love watching your process. You do the inner work and then you definitely share it however you decide to do that. Um, so I'm a bit envious of your water sometimes.
Well, I gotta say, so, and I'm not sure if this is accurate, but and I'm not sure if it's flattering, but I have a Sagittarius sun, so I'll just swing. Um, and I'll leave my Venus out of this. Jason said to me that he said my arguments are really egoic, but because I don't leave them there, I go and challenge myself with what just happened, what was that, all of those things. He can see that we're not stuck, at that egoic place. I do feel like there's more of a just a flow. And I love that you said balance because typically I feel like I'm on two wheels, and that's generally because I think in my chart, I've got the Mars conjunct the Pluto, the Uranus, or the Uranus and Pluto rather, and opposing the Saturn and Chiron. And so it's just too chaotic. There's too much energy and maybe I'm in the middle like going, hey, shut up, I need to know what you're doing. But there's also a way where there's a lot of elegance and a lot of refinement that's available now that I haven't found before. So I like all of that. I like all of the stuff that you're sharing. And I love a ninth house. anything.
Mhm.
So
Mhm, mhm.
I'm
Well,
very
and I mean, your Jupiter lives there natally, right? Jupiter
yes,
is actually transiting it as well, so there's
yes,
a lot of
yes,
energy up in your ninth house already.
yeah, yeah,
I like that the sun was in the first house last year, so the rediscovery of self, and that also is being brought into that who you present in that ninth house, right?
exactly.
And so
Yeah,
that's really interesting with that whole conversation about egoic,
yeah,
and how that'll shift this year, even from his perspective, right? From Jason's
exactly,
perspective outside of
exactly.
you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
very cool. I love it. Um, I'm just looking at the solar oh, that's last year's. I have so much paperwork. This is what happens, guys, when I do a
Oh my
year ahead
gosh,
session.
just love it.
So much paper.
I mean, it is something for folks to note that you are getting probably 1/50th of what we've generated in terms of what's going on with your chart as we've processed the information a couple times, a couple of different ways. So it generates some paper. That's all I'm gonna say.
Does. It does. I have to say, though, I am getting better at not having to have everything in hard copy. Like,
Sure,
it's less than it was
I
because I feel bad for
understand.
the
Yeah.
trees, but, yeah, there just is something about hard copy that translates the information a little differently. Um So let's go back to the in last year you had that balsamic phase and whenever we have a balsamic signature anywhere, first of all, energy's low. Like that moon at 29 degrees in the 12th house and like that's pretty low internal
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
So, having to take a lot of time to rest and a lot of time to reflect and all of that would have been really important for sure.
Yeah.
This year, it's a first quarter phase this year with the
I'm
moon.
so
The
excited.
moon is sitting on my moon, 9 Aries, so it's
Oh,
just like a degree off.
yay.
Yeah, but you got this beautiful trine between, the sun and the moon, and so that's different because usually, like, natally, your moon doesn't see your sun and vice versa.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So the ability with that trying to get better at being able to maybe assert your feelings with the moon in Aries,
I like
some bold steps. It's in the first house, so very much about expressing that true self and distilling it down because Aries likes to distill things down to the
that.
simplest,
Mhm.
sometimes to its detriment. But in this case, your ability to distill ideas down will get clearer with that moon in
I
Aries
love that. I love that.
in the first house. I'm glad. And I mean, you have Mars and the sun are kind of splitting your midheaven up at the top. So that Sag
Mhm.
energy, it's up. I mean, Jupiter's in charge of everything that's happening in this solar
Right.
return because it's Pisces rising and then Sag at the top. So automatically, I wanted to see what Jupiter's doing in the solar return. And it's in the fifth
Mhm.
house, and that's where art lives. I know,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Isn't that I just love that. I love it for you because
Yeah.
anybody who doesn't know, Lillian's an artist.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
huge part
Yeah.
of her soul. Yeah. So to
Yeah.
see
And
that
this,
ruling
de
planet.
yeah, and as we talked about the decluttering, it started because I saved all of my art supplies since 1990 something, let's say. And so I've been throwing tubes and, here's like one sheet of paper with something I wanted to think about. And, here's a letter, there's off mixed in. And so it is like this gigantic purge of, I guess, 30 years, something like that.
Well, and you know what the thing was that was so fascinating to me? So Jupiter is retrograde in this solar return chart.
Yeah.
So what that generally means is that, things are slowed down, there's some kind of repetition, something needs to be revisited, that kind of thing, right? But it was so representative of what you were saying to Andrea in our
Hmm.
last conversation about because she asked you about your art and you said, you realize at this phase in your life that, there's things you want to go back to. It's not really about feeling about starting anything new or, taking on new things and parsing out what you don't want to continue with and what's important to you. And did
Hmm.
I interpret that right? Is that what you said to Andrea?
I think so. Yeah. The only exception is there's this whole craft exploration going on, right? With the dolls and stuff like that. And I feel like that might be a new direction, but everything on my list was, here's how I need to paint. Here's how much time I need. Here's how many locks I need on the door. Here's how much sound dampening equipment. Here are my noise canceling. You get it.
I do. But to me, crafting is, and tell me if you have a different way of looking at this. It takes what you already know and you use it in a new way. You're not
Yeah,
learning something totally new, right?
right.
You're just using your skills in a new way. Would you say that's
Yeah,
true?
I'm pretending to do a painting that turns out to be a doll. And then I go,
Neat.
oh, that worked. Neat.
Yeah,
Does the
very
doll
cool.
need a hat? You know.
I feel like yes. I don't know. Is that
I know, I know, I know. I wish I had like a Montessori setup of like 10 different baskets of each of the little projects. And then just that space for the art, to really start sinking in and coming. And they're really absolutely woven together. But
right?
for art stuff, and maybe this into the solar return, everything I've done, I have had a regular studio, has been the weakest example of practice that I could manage, right? Like I had to like do something with my hands to keep them in practice, because it'll take a while before I start seeing with my hands and just sort of doing this and then making it manifest. And so knowing that I'm clearing the path, I've been really surprised by the refinement, and
Oh,
the
nice.
concreteness, this confidence that's very much fait accompli, or I'm not nervous about. I think there was something Andrea asked last week or this. What do you think if people judge you or something like that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Something about having
And
students and people not liking you or
oh,
something, right?
I know, and I run into that, like I get blindsided, even in a long-term situation, I'll be, oh, I didn't know that had happened. Oops, sorry. And I'm like, Sagittarian the hell out of there. And so that sense of not knowing and then finding out, it is like, don't do that. It is sad, right? Like it's hard. But then there's all of this stuff underneath. And I think this is the stuff I've been getting to this time around, I suppose, which is the riches underneath. The more I've kind of let go, of the things that were walking away from me anyway, the more comfortable I felt getting into my own skin. And then there's no question. And then all of those absurdities, how come I couldn't do that with this person? Oh, because I get to do that all by myself. Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm really feeling that now. And I know that Jupiter's cruising towards a return, and I feel really blessed. So I'm just trying to remember this before the next, Saturn thing reminds me that it's a circle and it's vicious.
Well, and so I was just going to ask you, speaking of Saturn and viciousness, this, talking about feeling like it's more concrete and
Yes.
you used very Saturnian words while you were talking. And so would you say that was connected to your Saturn return? Because you just had that like last year, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. And I had a Mars return following that. And I would say for the Saturn return, I have I have Saturn in Pisces. And it's sort of like having your contract manager or whoever runs a project be a hippie who never wears shoes and forgets a lot, or overly concerned and in your business and then wrecking everything. So there's a lot of versions, I guess is what I'm trying to say. None of them are fruitful until you figure out whatever you're coming up with in your little coconut head is what's going to show up. And I used to pick like, oh my, wouldn't it be terrible if this happened? And then I would be so angry down to last detail. So I spend a lot of time cheering my Saturn up. And that's all just say the Saturn return is this, ideally, it's this great chance to kind of remap to your foundation and see how attraction's going. The sense of it for me is more like somebody with a white glove touching all of the things that you haven't did and, just showing it to you. And, it's a stressful situation. And then I had Mars return. And so I just felt like I was, I don't know, I was trying to pay attention because those energies are so different. It was in Sagittarius, right? I can't remember. There was that Mars Saturn square that happened this Monday in December, just about wrecked me. I felt like I couldn't do anything. But all of that to say, I feel like I've been kind of grappling with two bruisers from the zodiac. And so minding my P's and Q's and trying to I'm here too, I'm doing my thing. And
Well, but that ends 2 12-year cycles for you, because this being a 12th house year, you're going to start the first house next year. And then your Jupiter return is also a 12-year cycle. So when we talk returns, we should clarify, it's when a planet comes to the same place in your chart that it was at your birth. So
right.
These cycles are all different because the sun, it's every year. It's never going to be at this exact time because we have 365.25 days in a year, technically.
Yeah.
So the sun jumps around. And then Venus and Mercury is about every year. Mars is every year and a half or every 2. I always get this wrong.
2. I think it's every 2.
And then Jupiter's every 12. Saturn's every 28 to 30. Yeah, I think you're right about Mars being every 2. And then, the outers, we might get a Uranus return at 84, because that takes 84 years. And then Neptune and Pluto, we haven't gotten there age-wise yet.
Right.
But who knows? Who knows?
We don't have that data.
For sure, yeah. So whenever we talk about planetary returns, the moment it comes back to that place in your birth chart, you look at that chart for that time. So speaking of that, you have a Venus return right now, as we're filming this. Ooh. You're having a Venus return. Yeah, I'm looking at the chart at the transits, and I kind of giggled.
Well, maybe that's why I'm wearing red velvet.
Yeah, I love that. Beautiful. Very
cool.
I
didn't have time to get the right lighting for it. It doesn't look raspberry enough in the camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah, and so
verse to the Saturn and Mars, I haven't done anything to prepare for Venus apart from I am cleaning as fast as I can, ma'am.
Well, and the thing is that you're gonna not get much of a choice with Venus this year, because you have, Venus is in charge of your year. It's up there in that 9th house, opposed Uranus in your 3rd. So that that axis is being lit up, and Venus is leading that charge, right? And so Venus is going to be very present in your world this year. So however you need to, what's the word I want? Revalue you. Like there's some kind of thing around your value, with that Venus being a huge part of the story, for sure. And balance, like we said, because it's Libra.
Yeah.
Diplomacy, likely to be forced to be diplomatic this year.
Oh,
with Libra in charge. One of those words for Libra that I think is so overused that I leave it out. But in hindsight, in talking to other people and in my own experience with Libra years, diplomacy is a really big part of the story, whether you want it to be or not. Yeah. Fairness and diplomacy, for sure.
Well, and coincidentally, coincidentally, it's a fire horse. No, it's a fire horse year. And I was born in the year of the fires. And all I've seen is that a fire horse year is arguments and gossip leading to litigation. And the recommendation is to zip it and be conservative. And, it's so funny because it's a translation, right? And so it's always, there's stuff that's angled kind of different, but that whole
Yeah.
think about arguing so much that you get stuck in court. And I'm like, oh no, I do that. This is his 12th house year, right? I have to stay in my studio, right?
And have a nap now and then. That's
That's
all you have
it.
to
That's
do.
it.
Well, and I think too, just based on last year's astrology and this year's astrology, there's a really big story around what you want to get loud about. Like, what's it
Mhm.
worth
Right.
getting loud about? Because, I mean, we're in such a weird time. And it's like I heard just recently, the latest in travel to the US is he's trying to pass some kind of rule where you have to provide the last 5 years of your social media before you can cross the border.
Wow.
Right? So what
Wow.
what do you want to get loud about? What is it
Right.
worth
Right.
getting loud about?
Right.
Right? So that, to me, is a big part of the story.
I agree. I agree. And again, with the refinement stuff, one of the things that I'm really working on is articulating a way that's simpler, that makes sense to more people, and that is not filled with my stuff. Right? No professional wants to do that. That's not. That's not a legitimate thing. So it's a joy to get to kind of satisfy what it is that my little heart desires, and then refine it so that I see what is available for other people.
Right. Right. Yeah, and deciding who is important enough to actually share that with you
Right.
is going to be a big part of the Venus and the
And,
Libra story, right?
there's this great Ani DeFranco line that I always think about with that is, she says, she's on a bicycle ride, and it's not just whose cooking smells good, it's which way the wind blows. Like you get
Yeah.
enticed incidentally, right? It's not, we troll like, da, da,
Yeah.
this is going to happen. And I feel like being in that space is helping me a lot, right? So that I don't think that my desires must happen. I get a chance to kind of check back in. Why? Why do you want that? What do you really want? Is it a bath, a shower? Are you running in the rain?
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, I just had a brain fart and I went back to look and see what was happening. So the other thing that I'm just going to shift gears just a little bit here. The other thing that I look at, because I find this really, people resonate with this quite a bit, is that
mhm,
you look at what the angles are doing natally, right? So for
mhm.
you, they're all in fixed signs.
Yeah,
So you like a firm ground to walk on. There's
right.
that's where your fixity lives, is you like your environment to be fixed,
I
you know?
do. Yes. Yes, please.
And then, but last year, all of the angles were mutable. And
Mm.
so were their ruling planets for the most part in mutable
Oh,
signs. So that means that there's a need for flexibility. There's a feeling of things shifting underneath your feet. It feels like you need, maybe sometimes you feel like you need to try to control it, even though you can't, because the
oh,
whole point
sure.
is to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
flexible and bend with it and allow it to evolve, right?
yeah, yeah.
And so you got mutable angles again this year, but the ruling planets are now in fixed signs.
Oh,
So it's like
nice.
there's some stability there while you can still, manage what does this flexibility look like, right?
I like that. Yeah. Do you think, because I'm towards the middle of the degrees, I'm not 15, but do you think proximity to that middle indicates, I'm familiar with deacons or any of the other kind of assignations that get that specific, but I generally think of the middle of any process as the most chaotic part of the process. So that
Hmm.
even though it's fixed, there's a little more zhuzh there, a little more energy there.
Hmm.
But I I can't tell you where I pulled it out of because we'll get demonetized. Just kidding. We're not monetized.
And that's interesting because I've always thought of the middle degrees as the most stable in terms of
Oh,
like at the beginning of the sign, the planet's figuring out how to be in that sign. And then by
okay.
the middle, it's figured it out. And then by the end, it's starting to learn, okay, what's the
I
transition going to
just
be
love
like?
that. I really love that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're both illustrative and it's different stuff, but I don't think I have a ground to say that, those degrees are raucous. So I would have to look at, I mean, it'd be fun to look at the Sabian symbols and see if
But I
they're
wonder
all
too if like, so let's say it's your sun. I mean, that in the middle is not necessarily gonna be chaotic because your whole life you've gotten to learn what the sun in Sagittarius is all about.
right.
But if you have something that's transitioning through something it's not familiar with,
That makes
perhaps
sense.
the adjustments need to be handled in the middle, and so they can feel a bit more chaotic as the planet
Yeah.
is trying to figure out how to be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It feels like it's a transition and that the transition can feel choppy, but it's not a long lasting.
Yeah,
It's
okay. Hmm,
learning from one to another, maybe. But I
interesting.
also remember sort of Diana Stone saying the 22nd degree of Libra is particularly intense. Forgive me. There's sort of these ranges where there are different, intensities that,
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm
Yeah,
not
there's,
familiar with
like I'm sorry, the language is not there for me right now, like, critical degrees. So, my
those.
Mars
Yeah,
is at the critical
there.
degree of Sagittarius, and they're
Okay.
different for mutable versus fixed signs versus cardinal signs, they're not the
Okay.
same. And
Okay.
so there's something about that critical degree that's important that makes that planet more energized, and
Mhm.
that's really the only way I've understood it. I've never gotten
Okay.
a really solid answer about what critical degrees are about,
Well,
um,
that's good. That
beyond
makes
that,
sense.
that it's just
Yeah.
energetic. Yeah?
Yeah, that makes
Hmm,
sense.
hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, in mutable, the middle it's got that critical energy to it, right? Because it's
Right.
17 is kind of right in the middle of Sag, so
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's actually your midheaven in this solar return is at 15, so it is directly in the middle of Sagittarius, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, yeah,
That's
and
the
I
other thing, right? Like that Sagittarian, my experience of Sagittarius has been, I find the truth, I live it, it dies. A new truth emerges. I have to go, okay, I'll do another one. I live that truth. It happens, it goes away. And I go, that's all right. Is there another one coming? Do you know what I
but
mean? And I wonder
I
if it's
mean, but that
accelerating.
speaks exactly to what this 10th ninth house is doing in your solar return chart with Venus at
Yes.
29 degrees of Scorpio
Right, right.
and the house being ruled by Scorpio. Like, absolutely, that's all about the death and rebirth of truth,
Right.
ideology, 100%. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's almost like you've lived that your whole life and now you get to express it and everybody gets
Yeah.
to see it. This is what this
Yeah.
looks like. Yeah?
Yeah. Yep.
Would you
I
say
like
that's true?
that. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know what to make of this, but Mercury is stationed in your solar return
Now,
and like
I
right on the
yeah,
ninth house cusp.
I love that. I mean, cusps being what they are, it's difficult, but if I recall in my natal chart, it's very close to station. It's either coming out of or going in. And so it's interesting, right? Because I often express a sense of being slowed down or having to go really slow. And I always attributed it to my slower planets and Mercury being key among them, right? And so I'm not sure if I mean, that's what comes up when you say it's station. But I do love it
Yeah.
being up there.
Well,
At
and to me, like, it's like there's some kind of a delay, right? Because it's when
Mm,
it's like it means it's stopped. It has stationed actually, like the day before. So it's like literally
Mm,
just stopped moving backwards.
wow.
Um, but it almost feels like a pause before a major shift, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and having Jupiter retrograde too, Uranus is retrograde,
Mhm.
Neptune's retrograde. There's a lot of that, like, and then the ruler of your year being at 29 degrees, it's like
Mhm.
there's
Yeah,
a, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a
I feel
pause
it.
before a big leap. It's
Yeah.
not a before you get to start moving forward slowly again. It feels like there's a massive shift once things start moving.
Yeah, did you ever watch Fringe?
I loved Fringe. Yeah, yeah.
You know how they had that jelly? See the people on the other side sometimes, or you know what I
Yeah.
that's how it feels, and that sense of it being I mean, I think I've said this I think I said it on the last episode. I got rid of, like, 20 organizing books because I get it, and what I love is, there's a sense, and this is very Venusian, that I've gotta honor that I put this stuff aside. And so there's no like, oh, that was so dumb, or why did I save that, or anything like that. It's very thank you, goodbye, and just
Yeah.
way more aggressive or assertive. And really excited at all of the things that I keep seeing, even if they I, projects that are half done. Like, for example, I used to make masks when we were all wearing cloth masks, and I would say there's about 70 half done. I'm probably going to finish them because there's no harm in practicing. But what I was trying to get to, oh, bother, I can't remember.
We were talking about there's a break before a huge leap. That's what we were
That's
talking
it.
about.
I have that sense, and it's so funny because I would never, the only thing I can attribute or relate it to is if when people say they have a sense of impending doom, that certainty that something's going to go wrong. But this doesn't feel like that. This feels like a sense of impending. I'm going to feel so much lighter. I'm going to feel like I can get to my stuff. I'm going to feel like there's more flow. So those things feel very exciting, but there's no getting out of the Saturn stuff at all. And
No,
I get that
no.
sense of hanging because, oh my God, I remember once a boyfriend either was late or didn't show up for a date. And I'm telling you, I was doing Romeo and Juliet in the window. You know what I mean? Like, really, I had no business. I mean, I don't even want to. Anyway, moving on. Very romantic, very wants to hold on, very
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wanna love what I love, let me love what I love forever and ever and ever, and in
yeah.
this world, surprise, you may not get that. There may
Mm,
be different things that happen, and they're not, terrible things. So, anyway,
yeah, I love
yeah.
that. So here's one of the things that is, to keep in mind. You have no air in your solar return chart,
Tell me about
and
it.
but you're in an air year.
Okay,
So you're gonna need
interesting.
to depend on other people's air.
Mhm,
In those times when you need to see clearly and you need logic, pay attention to when the moon is going through an air sign. That'll be really
mhm.
helpful.
Oh, good.
Um, and then also, when all the other planets are going through air, but at least with the moon, it happens a little bit more regularly that you can
Yeah,
tap into
yeah,
that energy, right?
yeah, I like
Um,
that.
because that whole idea of the diplomacy side of the Libra, it counts on the air, right?
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
house for you is already ruled by air. So it's not actually
okay.
going to be a foreign feeling that that's
Right.
what you need in that place because what you already have in that need in that place,
Yeah, yeah. That makes a
right?
lot of sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And
Absolutely.
the other thing too is that in the solar return, Pluto is in the 12th
Mm.
house. So
Oh, wow.
adding to the transformation that's happening, um,
Awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I mean that the Pluto is it's opposing your Jupiter
Right? Oh my
by transit.
goodness. Oh my
Yeah, so you're
goodness.
getting a lot of really fabulous Pluto energy. Um,
Wow.
that it feels like when I look at the lineup of all of the things, all the different cycles, that Pluto is just there to push to make sure that everything that you've been working towards, like you've actually gotten to the bottom, right? You've
Yeah,
dug
there's
down
a
and
sense,
found it.
yeah, sorry. There's a sense that the Venus being in charge of the year is sort of, and it's Libra is my 12th house natally, and Venus rules Libra, is kind of like wafting me into this private area where all of this transformation can finally happen. So
Right.
instead of feeling like I'm up on a stage and falling apart, which I have often felt like every time I go public, it's like I'm not quite Edgar from the Men in Black, who is the bug man, but oh, what is the one? Death Becomes Her. I'm Meryl Streep at the tail end of Death Become with the veil and everything's falling apart. So, but now it feels really different and like not mutable, right? Mutable differences. Okay, I'm introducing a new flex or a new angle. This is like before, after, and I
Right.
can just breathe into that space. I get more information about what that looks like until I'm done getting rid of all the extra stuff.
Right. Right. I
Yeah.
love that. Um, I misspoke. For some reason, I mean, yes, you definitely have air on the 12th because it's Libra and love. That's how we look at
Right, right,
perfection.
right.
You have air on the solar return 12th. That's what I meant to say.
Okay.
You have
Yeah.
so you have it coming at you from a couple of different places. Um, and also that gives you a little bit of that fixed energy for the year that's lacking in the angle. So that's helpful too. Now, what's interesting about what you just said, because I
Mhm,
want to talk a little bit about your progression. So, if
mhm.
anybody doesn't know what a progression is, every year, every day in the ephemeris from the moment you're born represents a year of your life. And so you move everything at the speed that it moves. Um, in that way. So of course the moon moves the fastest, the sun is like 1 degree a year, so on and so forth.
Right.
And so looking at what the sun is doing, what the angles are doing, what the phase of the moon and the sign of the moon, your progressed moon is dancing over all of your Virgo stuff. So any work that you did with that Virgo stuff last year, the moon is coming to make sure that you have emotionally integrated it into your new self. So I'm going to word that.
Really like it. I'm seeing
And
doilies everywhere.
well, and you not that long ago, I think it was in August, you had your phasal return, your progressed phasal return, which
Yes.
is only every 28 years.
Yeah.
And so it always matches up with the pretty close to the Saturn cycles.
Mhm.
And so it's that emotional evolution that we get to go through our lives.
Yeah.
So you're in a full moon phase. So that
Mhm.
that harkens back to what we were talking about with it's not a time to start brand new, it's time to take what you
Right.
already know and use it, right? To its fullest,
Mhm.
the full moon.
Yes.
Um, and then, but your ascendant is about to change signs. It's been in Sag for almost 30 years, and it's about to go into
Wow.
Capricorn.
Wow.
It will shift. I will find that out and let you know. But you don't. You
I
have. Let me look at it here.
I
It
feel
is
as
at.
though it's gonna offer solace to that Aquarius, which has not yet been hit with the transiting Pluto in Aquarius, and the Capricorn
Mm,
is like gonna
mm.
go, it's you'll be okay. It's all right. You'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's at 29:25.
Oh,
So,
wow.
you likely have about I think it's the end of July. I think it's actually really close to your Jupiter return at the end of
Wow.
July. So they're
Wow.
happening kind of at the close. Now, the thing
Yeah.
that I love about that, I wanna work that in with the transits because
Mhm.
so moving from a Sagittarius to Capricorn, when our ascendant changes signs, who we wanna present to the world, one-on-one and who we wanna be in our everyday life shifts. And so it's
Mhm.
when I realize that and I think about how you've played with your look and how you've played with makeup and all, that's all very ascendant at the 29th degree, trying to discover
Yeah,
what the new embodiment of yourself is going to be, right?
right.
But what I love about it is that now you're moving from the ideology of Sag and actually having your son, who you are, presented to the world. Now you're going to monetize it. Now you're
I
going to
love
step
that.
into being an authority. I know, right?
Yeah,
You're going to ground everything you're doing into reality. And you've been
yes,
working on clearing the way, now building the foundations to support it all on is
exactly.
what's going to
Yeah,
happen. And if we
yeah.
add the transit, Saturn is
Yes,
transiting your fifth house of art
that's right. That's
with
right. I
Neptune.
love it. I love it.
And so
I love
so Saturn gets a lot of shit. Like astrologers like, oh,
Mhm.
Saturn. And I am not going to diminish how difficult some Saturn transits have been for
Right.
people or can be for sure. But the gift of Saturn is always to make things a reality and to
Exactly.
bring ideas, bring things from the ethereal into something embodied and on the planet. And so, but it takes hard work, it takes commitment, and it takes, what's the third thing? Anyways, hard work and commitment,
There's
we'll stick
3
with that.
things.
Time. Saturn is time. It takes
Time,
time. Right.
exactly. I would offer this too, and I don't I really wanna know what you think about it. Because Saturn in Pisces is so gosh darn sensitive, what I have noticed is with the greatest compassion, I've been able to let go of things that I thought I would have been committed to, right? For a much longer time. And so I'm almost getting like the what is it? The I can't remember the person who takes you across the water to
Oh, yeah.
wherever,
The
right? Um,
Tallyman, the something man,
the
the
ferryman.
ferryman. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, something
Anyways, I
like
don't know.
that. But the to go into the underworld, right? There's a sense of that somber engagement.
Oh, well, that speaks to the Pluto in the house of perfection, like in a
Oh,
big
that's
way.
fair.
You know,
Yeah,
like that to me, that's
yeah.
Pluto energy taking you down into the deep part of what you need to be looking at before
Well,
you
I
can
guess
cross
I guess
over.
when you were talking about the imagination pulling in with Saturn and Pisces, I also think there's just a taste of skill in saying you also need to let go of that. It's also time for you to not have that. So as
Yeah.
much as it's pulling it in, and I get it that that's more of a Pluto function, but there's something about that. Like they're already in the netherworlds, right? They totally get it, you know? And so there's something about that way of looking at things and saying, that is no longer a burden to carry, you know, that there's a skill with that, that shows up when you're in that kind of position, where you're like, wait, I thought I would do this forever, you know?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it lets you off the hook and you get to throw the papers away. And this is what's important.
Well, I just love that in your solar return, you've got Jupiter in there, and then
Mhm.
in by transit, Saturn and Neptune are there to help you out. And, Saturn's there to help you materialize and recommit and do all those amazing things and will give you the time or allow you to give yourself the time to do all the things that you want to do with it. But Neptune's also there to
Mhm.
inspire and to sort of take you to another world and allow the free flow of the art in a different
Mhm.
way. And so I
Mhm.
really, really love that combination. And they're in the solar return, Neptune is exactly trine Venus,
Mm.
and Saturn is less than a degree trine Jupiter. So they're all talking to each other in such a
Oh,
nice way that the opportunities are, endless. And it's
yeah.
just comes out to, and it almost feels like when you were talking about that underworld thing, it made me think of it like when you go through your 12th house perfection or anything, like even if it's the progressed moon going through the 12th or whatever, there's a rebirth in that. And there's a rite of passage that is needs to happen when you go through that 12th house year. Um,
Mhm.
and so it's like you're being set up by, all the planets sort of setting you up to take this journey to come out the other side, this new person. which is hopefully not different from the one that I know already.
I mean,
'Cause I love
I've
you.
tried so hard. I'm gonna be me, but I'm terribly, terribly excited, and I do feel as though, um, I've got this really beautiful situation where I get to do this art and I get to do the astrology, and things being so chaotic and whatnot. The truth is, I would do it regardless. You know what I mean? Even if I, had to make other choices. But the fact that I get to keep kind of going over this stuff, and it very much feels like an estuary, and then it feels like the water subsides, and there's like, handy silt or something. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that comes out is really good, and so I'm just going to stick with that process and see how far I can take it. So,
I love it.
yeah, yeah.
Love it.
But
Well,
I
and
made
it's not about becoming a whole new person when things are
no,
changing signs. It's about shedding what you don't need anymore and
I
what's
love
not
that.
representative of who you are, right?
Right,
You
right,
have become this version of yourself through growth
right.
and strength and experience, and whatever you don't need protecting you anymore can go.
Exactly, exactly. And yeah, no, I love that because there's kind of a clarifier, I feel, because we're not talking about all benefics. Even the benefic, the greater benefic is retrograde, right? And it has to be in order to make a trine. So there's some message in there, right? With how that functions. And so with the heavy hitters, there's this sense of like real loss, having lived
Right.
through real stuff. And, thank goodness it was my second Saturn return because I really had a lot more life experience. So it didn't feel as dire as it felt before. And then there's this lift coming, and I'm not sure how to take it because you were talking about the air. Um, the lift of the vibe that's coming from the air getting ready to shift and into air and fire is palpable to me and
Yeah.
exciting. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so
Yeah.
there's some, I don't know, access in that way. I don't know how else to say it,
Ooh, I
right? To
like.
that air part.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
so Lillian is talking about the outer planets all changing signs from
Thank
earth
you.
and water
Yeah.
into air and fire, which is we'll all experience that in one way or another.
Yeah.
And there is an uplift in that. I actually, on it's because it's not, the going within energy that earth and water are, right? It's
No.
about the energy moves outward with fire and air.
Yeah.
Somebody on Threads had said something about, Geminis and, how amazing this Uranus and Gemini is gonna be for them all. And I just I mean, that's lovely, um, except everybody on the planet needs to concentrate on making sure that their nervous systems can get regulated because
Yeah.
Gemini is the nervous system, and the disruptor running through that sign is going to be hard on all of us, not just the Geminis. It's
Hmm.
it's it the and it's interesting because it also indicates an increase of how much time we spend on this thing,
Right.
because of Uranus and Mercury and all of that. And so making sure that you're taking time away from your digital
Yeah.
time, grounding yourself and all that, that's going to become important to everybody
I
because we're
agree.
all, I mean, we just went through and are still kind of in this very emotional time where we're not grounded and we're not logical because we don't have any air or earth.
Right.
Um, and moving straight into overstimulated period with all the fire
Yes.
and air, we're
Yeah.
not getting much of a transition to be
No,
able to ground
and that's
ourselves
part
and
of it, right? Because, like,
yeah.
I keep thinking, the stuff I hear about other countries, the common complaint Americans would make is the bureaucracy or things go so slow. And
Mm,
all I've ever heard is that is the only thing to keep assholes from stealing the wealth of a people. You slow them down. You slow them down. That's it. That's the point. And maybe it doesn't work. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know what the final looks like. But the reason why it doesn't go fast is because it's not one person doing it and thereby making everyone's life hell. So that's what I've heard. And that's what I think of for this stuff, right? Like there's this shift that's going to be like, wait a minute, it's so foreign. I don't, and I'm not saying it's going to be from one position to another, but my sense of going into air and fire is that it is less sensitive because it has to be. There's too much going on. And, you know, luxury of water, I would say, or even somewhat earth, sort of more in an inward way, is that you can sense, you can let the, you know, seagrass grow. There's a lot of ways to kind of expand. And in air and fire, you are going to explode. You explode or fall through the sky to your death. What I mean, something like that. It's not as you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, fire purifies, right? And air, boosts fire. So to
Yeah,
me, like, there's
yeah.
this purification coming that is
Mhm.
exciting, but is gonna
Yes.
be surprising to some people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah.
but there's also the inspiration and the ideas. I mean, there's such positive stuff that can come from the fire and the air too. So and also the fact that you've got whenever we have 29 degrees of like the sun, the ascendant, any of those
Yeah.
important things that by progression, there's an anticipation that comes energetically. It's fascinating to talk to people because it's like, how can you describe how somebody else is feeling? And yet, whenever you see it, it's like, no, you can feel that coming. You know, there's a
Anticipation.
change, but you
Yeah.
don't know what it looks like, right?
That's right. That's
So you
right.
have
Yeah.
that added layer to
Oh, I
think
love
about,
that. I love
for
that.
sure.
Yeah.
And so overall, like what I would definitely say to you, because there's also no earth in this
Oh,
chart,
no earth.
no
Uh-oh.
earth and no air. So it's all
Uh-oh.
water and fire.
Oh my goodness.
So make sure that you're getting nature and that you're going,
Yeah.
grounding, being outside, and maybe making sure you get some extra breath work in. Just
Nice.
try to stay balanced through
Yeah.
this time because it's very emotion and passion and
Right.
creativity, but
Yeah.
right like
Right.
from the heart, It's
Yep.
beautiful. But you want to
Yeah.
bring it into the world. So then you
Yes,
need the air and the
exactly.
earth.
There's the next part and the next part and the next part. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. It was really fun. I didn't know what this was gonna look like when we recorded it, so,
I know,
it was really
same.
fun. It was really
Yeah.
fun. Thank you for letting me look at your birthday charts, Lillian.
Oh, I felt like a princess.
To an amazing year ahead, my friends. I'm excited.
To an amazing year ahead. Yeah.
And thanks everybody for being here with us, and we'll see you again soon.